Welcome to the Terrible Video Game Club. We are making a book club for video games. We are joined by Alex Purdy
Hello.
and Tyler Schatz.
Hello there.
And this week we worked on Forza Horizon 4. We took a look at that and had a grand old time as our first multiplayer entry into the game club. It was a pick by Alex Purdy, so yeah. Go ahead and give us a little info on Forza Horizon 4 and why you picked it.
Oh, well, I'll start with the latter there. I picked Forza because it's a very popular game from everything I've ever seen on it. Originally released on the Xbox way back in, Forza 4 was 2018. Obviously, being the number 4, it was a very successful franchise if they're making 4 games worth. Yeah. Well,
So
how do you do that now?
Well, it was the fourth Horizon game, but then there's also the Forza Motorsport original ones,
right?
which they're on
Yeah.
7 right now, is what's out for that. So yeah, that's 11 total games in the series. So yeah, it's
Jeez, but
big
but
production.
yeah, I picked it because of the popularity. Because everything I've seen on it looked fun and interesting. I enjoy a good racing game every now and then. And it was a good excuse to try it out with you guys. Get a little bit more facts quick that I have pulled up here.
Sure.
Developed by Turn 10 Studios and Playground Games. Not sure what else they do besides Forza games. I'm guessing they don't need to do anything else.
You would think.
If you
Playground
guys...
Games, yeah. Do you know what they're doing now, Shotzi? They are
I'm
the studio that's been tapped. Go ahead.
The Fable game, right? They're working on the new Fable game.
They're making the new Fable game of all things. Yeah, the folks, as far as I know, Playground Games got their start with the first Forza Horizon, because it was Turn 10 is kind of the main studio behind Forza, and then Playground Games took it over, made it an open world thing. I think that was their first project. But
known for developing the Forza Horizon series.
yeah, and then now Fable. Well, if you asked me to come up with the most opposite game from Forza Horizon, it would probably be Fable.
Well, I mean, like, not to delve too much into their history and stuff like too and what's going on, but I think they've started up like a second studio for the Fable game. Yeah.
Okay. Well, fair enough. I mean, I like their games usually, so I mean, hopefully they can take Fable and do something more interesting with it than the last couple of Fable games.
Yeah. As a fan of the original Fable game, I'm curious to see what else they'll do.
All right. No, same.
As for Turn 10, it looks like all they've done ever is Forza.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Because I know what our general negatives are going to be, I think we should start off with our positives on the game. I won't go first because I knew the question was coming, so I'd rather spring it on you guys. Tyler, I feel like of the three of us, was the most on by himself. So, Tyler, you get to go first. Why were you playing this game by yourself without us for hours?
So, to just kind of start off with, like, my biggest positive thing from the game was just that introduction. We covered a little bit about the Forza 2 introduction before, how they've usually done a pretty good job. This one I thought was just, I wrote down, it's fucking awesome pretty much, because you're getting the introduction to the different seasons. So Forza Horizon 4's big thing is they have you race it, like the map changes with the seasons. It's like once a week the map changes to a different season, which impacts the way the cars drive on the road. It just impacts the way the environment looks. So you go spring, summer, fall, winter. So I think all of that was very cool, just the way they packaged that all into that first introduction to kind of like, hey, this is Forza, drive, you know. And then 2, we've talked about like the music itself, which the music, especially for that part, just works so well to just kind of draw you into the game and be like, yeah, this is a Forza game. I'm going to go racing here. But as far as like kind of why I was just kind of on a lot too, like it had like what you could probably just call of like one of those things that Tyler likes to do in video games of just driving around destroying stuff. So any game, basically, like the Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the Warzone thing there, where you can drive through a bunch of fences. I'm real big into that. All my friends just wonder why I just constantly drive through fences all the time.
We do.
And I think like it was really introduced to me back in like Battlefield Bad Company 2 of just basically taking a tank through a building or something like
Oh
that.
yes,
I think that stuff is I think it was you and I, wasn't it, JC? We were
probably.
just
I was in that game with all sorts of people all the time, as much as I could be. Yeah.
so like I think the thing it's something you don't do in video games very often, especially now too with racing games of like you're stuck driving on this track the whole time. Whereas this game, if you want to go driving through this field over here, you can go driving through this field over here as fast as you want in a sports car or in a big
Mhm.
tank of a truck driving through the field. So it's just something about that just kind of really just tickles the funny bone in me or whatever. Just like this is fun to do.
Oh
It
yeah.
it fires the dopamines or whatever they like to say. Basically, like this is cool, you know.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
now I know if in our hometown here, if there's any weird, police report on some crazy driver going through fields and fences, screaming joyously, I will be calling you in.
It was not me, officer. I swear.
All right, JC, what are your like top few things? Why did you enjoy the game?
Oh yeah.
What
I mean,
parts?
I it's just it's a game that lets you have fun. I mean, Playground Games makes it, and it feels like it's a playground style game. They have it all set up to where, like that wanton destruction that Shotzi enjoys. They reward you for that. I mean, you go smashing through fences forever, and then you're just earning points. You're earning levels and earning all sorts of other things to keep doing more of it and better, faster cars or goofier cars, whatever you want. It's just rewards all sorts of adventurous styles of gameplay, despite it being inherently a racing game. Which, thinking back to like the Gran Turismos of the world, where you start off and it's like, okay, here you have to get your D class license. So here, drive this 1965 VW bus
Yeah.
as fast as you can. AKA, it's going to take you 5 minutes to go a mile. It's painful to have them do that. Whereas Forza Horizon 4, that intro starts off great. You're just in all these different cars. You're just driving through stuff, driving super fast cars. You can take these rinky-dink cars they give you that have three wheels. You can soup them up to be ridiculously fast acceleration cars where you just can beat a Lamborghini in a drag race almost because it gets up to 120 real quick and then it taps out. But hey, it's a really fun game for that sort of stuff, and that's always what I've liked about the Horizon series, especially is just like you don't have to do things a right or wrong way. And I've always enjoyed games that give you that freedom. That's why I always kind of like the Battlefield games over Call of Duty, was that like in those games, if you don't like if you're having a bad time shooting people in a Call of Duty game, you're going to have a bad time that entire night. In Battlefield, if you're having a bad time shooting people, hop in a helicopter, make some runs, hop in a plane, do some dogfight. There's other things to do, and that's how Horizons always felt to me. Is that like, hey, you don't have to be racing some superclass car and taking corners expertly. Just hop into some dune buggy and start just driving over hills and stuff. So yeah, I mean that's always been one of the top things, and especially this game is just great about it. The different seasons add all that extra layer of stuff where you are doing snow runs and ice road races and all sorts of other things with that.
Yeah, it definitely feels like there is like nothing's off limits.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, which is really fun. I didn't really think about that until today. Because yeah, you're right. Every racing game I've ever played before this was work your way up. Maybe after a certain amount of grind, you'll have a car that can go decently fast.
Mm-hmm.
But until then, you better learn how to corner efficiently so you can try to win some races or whatever. Yeah, my favorite thing, easily is the music. I mean.
Yes.
I'm not a big like EDM type of festival person, and honestly, I don't really listen to the music that often. I know a few people like Hardwell and pretty deep, but yeah, from the get go, I could literally just sit in a car and listen to the radio. It was so good. Yeah, it's hard to describe it. I don't know if anybody here follows my Spotify to see what I'm listening to, but I've been listening to the full soundtrack playlist for a while. Odd thing with that though, side note, is there's a lot of like traditional
Like the
like
classical
orchestral
music, right?
music. Yeah. Like I'm listening to some crazy bop and then all of a sudden it's like Bach's Suite in D,
Right.
super off there, but yeah, the music is absolutely fantastic, and honestly, I thought the game too was just really pretty, especially for being I'm quoting here, older game. I mean, it's not that old, but 2 to 3 years now as an old game.
Yeah, like ray tracing and all that stuff wasn't even a thing at the time, but I mean, still, like lighting looks great, all that stuff.
Yeah. And when I was kind of thinking while the game was going, it's like this should really show that the graphics don't have to be 4K ultra amazing to be really, really good. I don't know how to describe it, but like I would just drive around going slow around these towns, looking at the churches and the hills, rocking out to music. So that's what I enjoyed the most.
Yeah, if speaking of like the quality too, I played this on both the PC and my Xbox hooked up to my OLED TV. It had HDR on for the OLED TV, and it looked very pretty there too. But I mean, it still looked very good on my computer too. It's nice on the computer because you can have the uncapped frame rate, so you just go.
Yeah.
And then I'll echo like your music comment there too. Like a lot of this music is not music that I normally seek out on my own to listen to at all. But it's like I enjoyed listening to just about every station there, pretty much going like, yeah, this is good driving music, pretty much. Just turn this thing on and just drive.
Yeah, it makes you want to go fast too. Like it makes me want to weave through traffic.
Oh yeah, yep. Like I wasn't even a big dubstep fan until the first Forza Horizon came out, and then Bass Arena, the channel from the game, was basically the dubstep station in that game, and I was just like, okay, yeah, this is rad. I love this now. It taught me to appreciate certain genres of music in a way I hadn't before. So always appreciate that.
Another positive I can mention there too is there's a challenge in there. So the Horizon games have these challenges where it's essentially just a time trial, but they make a big spectacle of it, like, oh, go race a train or go race a plane or something like that. You think you really are actually racing these things, but it's really just a time trial to get from start to finish as quick as you can. Yep. And there was one that was geared specifically for driving the Warthog from Halo. And like you had the Pelican flying around you had other Warthogs coming in there, you had Banshees flying overhead, and they laid out some stuff on the track that made it look like Halo-esque stuff, like force field
like all those Covenant shields and stuff, those little pop-up things. Yep.
So a bunch of that stuff flying around, and they had the Halo track playing in the background too. So like it was just like a really cool driving experience for Halo. As a big fan of the Halo series as I am, I was just like, this is kind of cool. It's kind of reminiscent of like the last level of like Halo 1 and Halo 3 of just driving that Warthog as fast as you can to get from.
I know there's a bunch of those other types of game challenges in there, but I didn't actually go through and do much of that, unfortunately. It just every time I was on, I felt like we all tried to hop into a lobby together and do that stuff, and those are very single player focused, so I just never really got into this run through. But I might still just hop into it with it installed here and go check those out someday. But we'll see.
Well, that might be a good little segue into what I feel like will be the meat and potatoes of this podcast. And that is the multiplayer experience. And we're going to give a little disclaimer, to be fair, before we tear into this, that apparently there might be some isolated issue. Well, not isolated. What's a good way of phrasing it? There's some worldwide issues recently with multiplayer. Yeah. And boy, it sucked trying to play this game with your friends. It made the game, honestly, for me, go from really enjoyable to just like, what are we doing? We could be doing something else together, Yeah.
So I would say to even rewind that back just a little bit. Before we had the issues with the multiplayer, I'd say just what they do for introducing multiplayer in the game to begin with is just really strange, because it's not a game that you can go out, buy, and then just jump right into a multiplayer session with your friends. There's about, I don't know, it took me maybe like a half hour at least. I might have taken it took you a little longer, didn't it, to do it? But it
I was winning like every race, and it took me an hour and probably 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, it's just the initial introduction section there of like, you have to do all of this stuff in single player before it'll open up into the actual online lobby, which then when you're in the online lobby, you're still not quite there until you do like one or two more things, and it finally opens up into the online world. And then even after that, you have to reach rank 20 in order to experience kind of like all of the events that are kind of there to offer. So it's like and I understand, like, you want to give everybody like a good introduction to the game to get them kind of understanding what everything is, but it just seemed like the introduction to even get into multiplayer for this just took forever.
Yeah.
And we definitely struggled. I think it showcased a little bit, at least in that first stream that I hosted on our channel there, of just it took forever just to kind of figure out what is going on to why we can't get into multiplayer sessions together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for a game so focused on the multiplayer experience, because that's its main thing.
Yeah, I mean, Forza Horizon 3
very difficult to get there.
Yeah. The Horizon 3's big thing was like, hey, look at all this crazy multiplayer stuff we have now. And then Horizon 4 just like kept pushing that, like, hey, it's still a fantastic multiplayer experience. And like, yeah, it might be, but you're not going to find that out until you do some honestly pretty basic tutorial stuff. Like, it's not things that are absolutely essential for you to enjoy the Horizon experience. Like, you're not gaining a whole lot from, from that opening sequence. If you just did that and then you could hop into somebody else's game and it just popped a little thing like, hey, you haven't gotten far enough in the Horizon Festival to like complete these events for yourself or anything yet, so it's not going to stay if you go back to single player. Like, if that alone happened, that'd be a much better experience, I think. But also, I mean, it's still just a game where you just are trying to check off all the boxes for all these races. I don't know why they have to necessarily be locked behind anything, really. But how it went.
Yeah, it's not a game that if you want to just hop in with your friends and pick it up free on Game Pass, that's not going to work out that way. You got to spend
pick it up and put some time into it on the weeknights, and then the weekend you'll be set by the time everybody rolls around. But even then, like, don't get too far ahead, because then, like, I had previously been the only one to play this game before the club got to it, and so like I had a bunch of events unlocked and stuff. But if I hosted the lobby, I couldn't see what events everybody else had unlocked. I just saw everything that I had unlocked. So I'd be like, hey, let's go to this race, and people would say, what race? There's nothing there. And so then I'd have to make somebody else the leader so that we could actually race events that they had access to. So that was another little frustration there for me, at least.
Did we ever test out, though, with you being the host and trying to join a race that you had done, but like I hadn't done?
I guess we never specifically tried it, no. But
okay. I couldn't try too much.
That's true, yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah, so getting back to the issue that Perd mentioned to begin with is that, and this is only after multiple sessions of researching information, there may have been a perfectly timed storm to keep us into a situation where we would frequently get disconnected from games, and not necessarily reliably. It wasn't always after every race, which almost made it worse, because then like we'd just be playing a race and then disconnected after the second lap out of 3. Or I had a couple times with AT, who was playing with us, where we would be doing a 3-race series, and like last turn of the 3rd race is whenever it kicks out, and it's like, well, there's an entire 15 minutes just gone forever. So, yeah, it was just super frustrating to be dealing with that. And we tried so many different ways. You look up like, hey, Forza Horizon is disconnecting, and then here's this Reddit thread that shows how to fix it, and then here's this Xbox help post that shows how to fix it, and here's this video that shows how. Tried all that, nothing reliably fixed it. I mean, I was just done with it by the time we were, I think it was Monday when we last tried to play, and it was just, yep. I was not having any more of it.
Yeah, I typically don't get too frustrated by games all that much, and like this one towards the end is just like, this is getting to be ridiculous, because we sync up into a lobby, we go around, everything is perfectly fine. We could spend an entire hour just driving around the lobby without any disconnects or anything like that. And as soon as we try to connect into a race, it's just like disconnect. We all load up onto the track, choose our cars, don't even take the first turn, disconnect. Go through, like you said, do an entire series of races, get to the last race, and just disconnect. So it's just like, what is going on here?
Yeah, it turned a really, really fun, I think, different experience for all of us who tend to kind of play the same games with or without each other. This like new thing we could all do, and it just left a really bad taste in the mouth. It's just the best way of putting it, I think.
Yeah, like if you were to like gauge my excitement for the game kind of like on a graph, like it went up and up and up for a good while there, but then it's just, as soon as we ran into a bunch of those multiplayer issues, like every time we tried to do it, it just got worse and worse, because I was just like, what is going on here? Like, this seems strange for a game to have this kind of an issue 2 to 3 years after release.
Yeah, because that's the other thing too, is like it as mentioned, it came out in 2018. Here we are in March of 2021 doing this, and like still having these connection issues. Like, And granted, to be fair, like I said, I mentioned I played this before. I played this with other people whenever I had done that. That was probably last year around this time. So it was already after release then. No issues with any of those people whenever I was playing it. And that was over probably a week or so of just hopping on like we were doing even. So not sure what exactly happened. Like I say, we looked at it recently and like turns out there may have been a patch that came out early March that caused this to happen a lot more frequently. But like I said, we were getting results from 2 years ago even about how to fix this that seems to be leading to the same sort of fix, because we would sometimes get it to work for a couple races and then it would conk out again. So I don't know what the cure is or anything, but it was definitely just a struggle to try and deal with it as is.
You kind of bugged out there a little bit, JC.
Oh,
So
well, fair.
Yeah, you were robot JC there for a second.
Well,
It
good
was
thing I'm
very
recording
funny.
locally, I guess. But yeah, no, it's just saying that. Yeah, I'm not sure what the problem really was with it, or if it's something on our end, something on their end. I don't know, but just like trying to deal with it and get things taken care of was just a exercise in frustration, because everything we try would be somewhat similar, but nothing would ever work. It would look like it worked for a little bit, and then not, and it just If you were putting it on a graph, it would be that upward trend and then just like a small dip and then back to an upward trend whenever we're driving around in free roam. Because like I said, free roam worked great every time.
Mm-hmm.
Like we would be driving, AT and I literally just went around and took out billboards and just hit jumps and stuff like that for 2-3 hours one night. We just like went way too late into night, but it never had an issue. And then we hopped into a race and disconnect. Like it's just frustrating. And yeah, so that graph just eventually just bottomed out and went through the x-axis, and then I was just like, well, let's start this. We're recording this podcast on a Wednesday night instead of the weekend because we didn't want to play this game anymore. Really, like the single player is all right, but I'd much rather get on to the next game and have something else that I want to play more, because I just can't deal with this anymore. It's too frustrating.
yeah, even still, like I noticed a couple of like I ran into like one other bug throughout my time playing it. So in the game, there are a thing called barn finds, which are basically these vehicles kind of scattered throughout the map there that you can drive up to this barn and basically unlock the vehicles. I don't know what triggers the event to kind of have you go search for them or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not
Just
entirely
it
sure
seems
either.
to happen kind of random when you're in a certain area.
Yeah,
But then, like, it's a little bit of time because they have to, air quotes, repair the car, which takes a little time, or you can speed it along with throwing credits into it either way. I was usually fine with just waiting because I didn't really care.
yeah. I felt like it was never like far too long that I was like, "Where's that barn find?" It was like I do
Yeah.
one race and they're like, "Hey, we got that car ready." I'm like, oh, okay.
And even so, most of the cars, I was like, I don't really care about this. I have my,
Yeah,
every Forza game, I always have to get my Cobra Mustang, basically, and I'm good
there
to
you
go. So I got mine this time and I was good to go. But like the bug I ran into was like every time you go to like click on it to say, yeah, add it to my garage, and then they do like a little introduction in the
like,
Horizon
oh,
Festival. Like,
this
here's what the car.
three-wheeled bad car. Oh, check it out. Like, yep.
Yep. It was just a generic black car that showed up every time. So I was like, well, this
Yeah,
is
just
fantastic.
yeah, just like an untextured car. Because I ended up, I don't think I mentioned it to you, but I got that bug as well. It's like it must just be a widespread thing. Because again, back to the previous time that I played it, it was working fine. And then now, whenever you'd go to a bar find, it'd be like, oh, check this out, and it's just generic black like 4-door civilian coupe. Like it's nothing fancy, just or sedan, not coupe. But yeah, so it's just like nothing. It was just a weird thing. But yeah.
And then another thing I'll mention here that I just had an issue with. So I think this touches on what you were talking about, the video game story thing or whatever that you can do in the game. It's called like Horizon Video Game Stories or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a event you start just like outside the festival there. It's got like a big controller as the icon on the map. And it's hyped up to be really cool. They talk about like it's this influencer streamer who's hosting the events, and she talks about like her top 10 favorite cars from video games or driving sequences or something like that in video games. And it's kind of hyped up to be kind of cool. So I'm like, okay, thinking, well, maybe, it's like be driving around these like different levels or something like that. Maybe they'll like warp me out of the festival into like this pre-made track. Nope. It is basically just they put you in a car that is kind of loosely tied to the video game, and they basically make you do a time trial race. I think there was like maybe 3 of them outside of the 10. Like 2 of them were like go drive here real quickly, like within a time limit, of course, and then go do a bunch of events or things in this set area, like in the quarry. One of them was with a race truck. I had to do a bunch of uh, things, basically building up my influence to like 90,000 points or something like that in there in order to get 3 stars on it. And then like one of them was just go hit this jump after a while, like drive to this area, then go hit this jump afterwards. So it was just like all of these things. I was like, these kind of are a bummer here. Like, and then you're kind of like, well, a lot of Forza, I suppose, is just nothing but time trial races. So it's like,
I mean, like the Warthog event is just a time trial as well, essentially. But so I was expecting that those game story things would be more like that Warthog event, but they're not. They're just kind of like the same as the stunt races and all those other time trials.
Yeah, it's literally just drive here.
Cool.
Like
video games.
Like, yeah.
Remember that game where I drove? I'm going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like I was just kind of frustrated by that. I was like, this is all this really is just events to go drive here real quickly. I'm having more fun doing the races or the off-road stuff or just driving through speed points or whatever. Those were always fun to do. So yeah, that was just another kind of just disappointment for me.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys get any cool achievements you want to brag about or anything unique? Or any Easter eggs maybe that you found? I don't have any personally. I'll just throw it out there while you're thinking. But I'm thinking back to Outer Wilds with that random satellite I found. I should know if anybody found anything cool and weird or...
Well, I did get the achievement for driving down every road in the game.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, crazy maniac. How many roads is that, Tyler?
531.
Yep. And they gave me the achievement early, too, but then I was like, nope, I gotta go find the last couple of roads here.
I only got one achievement, which was apply your first car mastery. Wow. The first thing everyone does, I did. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, I got 25 clean racing skills in any A-class car.
Woo!
I viewed every beauty spot for all 12 of them.
You didn't even get the one for Arrive at the Horizon Festival, Perd?
I'm just looking on my Xbox achievement list, and I only have one. Well, because I just rushed to get the races done that they wanted, so that I
think you should be able to arrive at the Horizon Festival. I thought that would be.
I went there. Still get to the Horizon Festival.
That's where I picked up my first car, the Ford Focus RS.
Well, you got hosed out an achievement, man.
God, there goes my gamer score.
Yep.
Might as well start over with a whole new gamer tag.
Yep. Otherwise, I guess I got a banked a skill chain of 195,300 or more points one time. That was kind of fun.
Is that the one where you were like really, really close to 200,000 and you didn't get it and you were kind of annoyed the other night? Yeah. We were all messing around the quarry, right?
Yep. Yeah, like I discovered basically that I could I had a Ford Raptor that I had all maxed out and everything like that. And I discovered after I maxed out the mastery on it too, like I had a skill that was in there that allowed me to basically like essentially save my skill chain basically 2 different times if I were to mess it up by hitting something hard or something like that, running into a wall. So I figured out how to like really rack that thing up with the Ford Raptor basically, because that thing liked to drift real well if you tap the A button for the E drift enough here. And just driving through the quarry is real easy to just drift on its own. Plus, you're running over fences and doing jumps all over the place too.
Yeah, the fences are nice because they respawn if you get far enough away or after enough time. So then, like, you're just eventually run over the same fence again and get more points for destroying that fence again. Yeah, my Lamborghini also drifted fairly well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing too to mention about the game. Like in the positive light is like the Forza Motorsports game, which is just the strictly racing games, like it gives you the opportunity to experience kind of like what it would be like to be in these like super fast cars driving through racetracks and everything like that, like fine tuning your car and everything like that to make the turn absolutely perfect or something like that. Whereas the Horizon games basically just kind of take all of that, like there's all of that stuff still in here, but then allow you to just drive a supercar through a cornfield if you want here. It just to kind of have that extra level of fun there with the game.
Yeah.
Well, any final thoughts before I ask my last question?
Just that we were talking a little bit about it before, just about how much it sucked that we didn't have more fun with it. Because we all wanted to. Like I said, we all enjoyed the aspects of the game a lot, just not the actual experience of trying to play it together. And I was mentioning that like I might be willing to revisit this again later if it sounds like the bugs get fixed in the multiplayer. Because if it is something that just happened universally, maybe during a game club interim between season 1 and 2, maybe we just revisit this for a week or something like that. So, I mean, I'd be willing to go back. I don't know about y'all.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to probably at least keep the game installed. I think I've got it on my backup drive here at least too, so not going to be eating any hard drive space. And it's definitely kind of just a game that's interesting to just fire up every so often. Just like I said, just drive.
Yeah, and there are a lot of those solo events that I could certainly give myself a good excuse to just hop into and clear some of those out, because I wouldn't be playing those multiplayer anyway. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that segues perfectly. So from 0 to 10, from uninstall to you are playing this the second we get done with this podcast. What do you rate the Forza Horizon 4 experience at?
Oh. Shotzi, if you got an answer, go ahead first.
I really enjoyed a lot of my time playing with it. It's just a lot of my time was tarnished by the fact that the multiplayer stunk.
Yeah. I mean, of my last 5 hours with the game, 2 of them were probably sitting in Discord while the game technically ran in the background as I'm Googling things about how to fix netsh Torito dot whatever. Like, ugh.
The fact you have it memorized.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can run a command prompt as administrator so quick now. It's friggin' great. Yeah.
I would say somewhere in that like 6 to 7 range, because like I said, I really enjoyed it, and I definitely see there's a lot of fun there. Like we spent 2 hours just jumping jumps at the airport one time, whatever.
That was
And
great.
then I have that amazing, like I don't think I've talked about it yet, that amazing 3-wheel car that I built to go 170 miles an hour basically in a straight line. It cannot turn at all because you will roll the car.
Yeah.
So like a good 6.5, 7, something like that. Because like I enjoyed the time with it. Like I said, it triggers that thought in my brain of like, this is fun just driving through fences too. So
yeah, that good
All right,
dopamine
JC,
rush.
what's your number? What are you giving it?
I'm probably a little lower, honestly. I'm thinking like right now, probably honestly like a 4. I mean, I'm definitely not in a rush to go play it anymore at the moment. Partially because I got a VR headset in now, so I'm just all about VR experiences at the moment. But yeah, it was just really tarnished by that experience. And like I've had the opportunity to go back and do those single player things yet, and like they're fun, but I got a good taste of it, a good fill of it right now, and I'm good to just ride out what I got here. And like I say, if it gets fixed, let me rephrase. In its current state right now, it's like 3 or 4 probably. If I hear that they fixed the server disconnect things and it's good to go, that jumps up to like an 8 or 9 probably. I'd be willing to just like hop in and like, hey guys, let's do some more Forza tonight. It's fixed. Oh my gosh, let's go.
Yeah, I think I'm somewhere right in between you. My initial number is going to be like a 5. It's current experience because there is enough to do in single player. The music is out of this world good. It fits the game perfectly. The graphics are amazing. The cars are fun. But if that multiplayer was there, I was thinking like 8, which for me is pretty high.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we're all kind of in that middle of the road range. To our listeners, I hope that if you play this game, you experience none of the issues we've discussed and you only have the positives. But considering from what it sounds like, since release, they've had intermittent issues like this. Who knows? But it is, I guess, an outdated game. Maybe they just don't allocate as many support resources to it when there's newer Horizon games. Ooh.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the other thing is like technically there's not a newer Horizon game, but hopefully news. No, this is the most recent Horizon release, and I think Forza 7 is the only game that's come out in the series after this one. I could be wrong on that. They might have done 6 and 7 after it, but
I don't remember the release order of. I think it's Motorsports, Horizon Motorsports as of the past few years.
Yeah. So it's been a while since they've done a Forza entry in general, right?
This is the last. Actually, this is the most recent.
This is the most recent.
Forza
Okay.
entry. Yep. This is 2018. Motorsport 7 was 2017.
And I have not been paying attention to any sort of video game news, so I have no idea if they've even announced an official one yet. I would assume that they would be coming through with it. Though I guess Playground is busy with Fable, so who knows?
Yeah.
Almost makes it worse though that they're having issues still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
it's the only.
Especially like with it being a multiplayer kind of focused game by about now, like that there's still like that issue. It's just kind of sucks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, any last thoughts, or should we move on to the big reveal of the next game? Because it's who knows what it's going to be.
It's true.
Yeah, I got nothing really for me. Like I kind of just agreed with you there, Pert, of like if this game were to be fixed, like if anybody listening, basically go try and play this game now, and hopefully you don't experience the bugs that we did.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you play it and you're not experiencing bugs and you look back and see that there was like, oh, hey, this update fixed the bugs, send an email to tvgcgameclub@gmail.com. Let us know because we'll hop back in immediately once I hear about this. So yes, currently no emails in the inbox, but send on any thoughts you have about the current game that we're playing or previous games we played from any episodes. We'll read them on the air. Are we ready to spin the wheel for our next game?
Yeah, there's only two choices left.
We have Deliver Us the Moon, another Purdy choice, and Risk of Rain, a Shotzi choice. Risk of Rain, hopefully if we get to that one, it will be a better multiplayer experience. Surely can't be. I was gonna say it can't be worse, but it technically could be, but it'd be hard.
I mean, it's going to be like worse because it's not dedicated servers on the PC. It's going to involve us either like downloading Hamachi or learning port forwarding.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
They haven't put dedicated servers in the PC version.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's interesting that you need to do like all the Hamachi stuff. I would think it would just be like, hey, or just connect to this person. But
yeah,
interesting.
I mean, I guess I should hold that thought to like I haven't ever actually tried to play the first Risk of Rain in the year 2021, 2020 with another person. Yeah. So who knows what they.
I mean, if you just need like a dedicated to build your own dedicated server, I mean, I've got a DCS dedicated server box that can easily pop on a Risk of Rain. I can't imagine it is a very intense application to run.
It's gonna just blow your dedicated server up.
We'll find out, but maybe not this week. So, we always spin this wheel 3 times. The third one is the winner. So here goes the first one.
I suppose I should actually watch the stream.
Risk of Rain wins the first one. Delivers the Moon the second.
Here we go.
Final tally. Deliver Us the Moon. All right. So...
Back to the single-player world we go.
Back to the single-player, story-focused world. All right. So, yes.
Do you need to set this one up at all, or
if you have anything to set it up with, if you just want to say like wait and see, then that works. So,
yeah. I mean, I think I've given the basic premise. The world is relying on moon power, more or less.
I wish the sentence had just ended there. Just world is relying on moon. Go.
Enjoy. And then one day the power shuts off. And we on Earth don't know why. The world slowly falls into not a good state because the world is relying on this power. And you have been sent up alone to figure out what happened and hopefully turn it back on. My only advice with the game, like with any, I think, good single-player story game, is to, kind of like Outer Wilds, just try to really figure out what happened. Because that's just really fun part of the game. You could rush through it and you could complete this game pretty quickly. But if you actually take the time to watch all the video logs and listen to the audio instead of just rushing to the next task, it just makes your kind of whole experience there good.
Should I or should I not watch a speed run as my first action?
Tyler, any answer to that?
I haven't seen anything about this game, so
fair enough.
But yeah, it should be fun. I think you guys will enjoy it. It's not too long, not too short.
Okay. Yeah. Any minimum time limit you feel like on this?
I think a standard hour. I mean, if you really hate it after an hour, then there's really no reason for you to keep going. I hope the story is engaging enough that even if you don't enjoy the gameplay that much that you'll want to finish it. But
So, I mean,
yeah.
not to judge a book by its cover, but from kind of what I've seen online about it, like I feel like there's not a lot of gameplay changes that are happening with throughout beginning to end on this, or do you not want to reveal that? Is it you're pretty much walking and interacting in the same way from beginning to end? It's all about the story. No,
I mean, sort of. There's a lot of different elements. You drive different vehicles. There's different
Okay.
tasks. They have to figure out how they work. So I guess that
Okay.
surprises me. I mean, in the beginning, definitely it's, how do I get up to this ledge using these tools?
Okay. All right. Yeah.
And such. But
I just
maybe I'm romanticizing my memory of
fair
it.
enough. Yeah, and I was just thinking it was more of like a Gone Home style, or like a what am I trying to think of?
Walking simulator.
Event, yeah, a walking simulator like that, like Event Zero or something like that, where it's all about interacting with the story. You're not really gameplay wise doing anything new. You're still just like walking to event, learning about the puzzle, doing the puzzle, walking to the next event. So yeah, no, I'm all about that. I was just, every video that I'd seen was just like slow walking around an RTX lit space area, so I had no idea beyond that what the actual gameplay consisted of. So yeah, glad to hear there's some shifts there. Not that I'm completely averse to walking simulators. I loved Going Home and Edith Finch. So yeah, awesome.
Well, it's free on Game Pass, so get to downloading whenever you feel comfortable. It's not a huge game, so you don't need to spend like 3 nights downloading it or anything.
Aw, I was looking forward to just spending the next 3 days downloading it. Actually, I've already got it downloaded, so I'm good.
There you go.
But yeah, any other questions about it?
I don't think so.
All right.
So yeah, 2 weeks ish. We'll see. I mean, maybe if we do a week and a half, then we'll be kind of back in time for that a weekend event. But we'll see how it goes.
I guess there's not anything coming up for everyone, is there?
I don't think so.
Easter's coming up. I don't know.
Easter,
everyone keeps telling. I should say this. Everyone keeps telling me that Easter's coming up. I have no idea what Easter is because I haven't.
Is it the 4th? Is it like super
Not
early?
this next weekend, but the weekend after. Yeah, first Sunday of April.
Okay, so that'd be the April 4th.
No, I thought I'd be cheeky. It's too cheeky. Okay, DuckDuckGo sucks. Google knows how to do it. Bam. There we go. Sunday, April 4th. Yes, Easter confirmed.
But we can figure that out as we get closer.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, it's a game that we could have finished in a couple of days, depending on how much you play. So
yeah, like one of the first reviews on the Game Pass app here on my PC is like the game itself is not difficult. It's more of a sci-fi 5-ish hour storytelling experience.
Okay.
So I'm going to speed run it then, basically.
Yep. First review I see. It's 1 star. Says
What?
sucks. That's the title of it. Body of the text, no instructions. That's it. That's the entire review.
what is this on?
On
Steam?
Game Pass, yeah. Just
Why does it give us different?
most
reviews?
helpful critical review.
Oh, yep, I see it. That was just a couple days ago. 317.
Yep, 317. My dog Lucy,
geez.
88. It's not me. I have a dog Lucy, but no, it's not me.
No instructions.
Oh,
Say
that's the
not
most helpful critical review.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's an average of 4.1 out of 5 on Game Pass with 81 reviews, which is, not that many.
Is this thing on the Xbox? No, it's only playable on PC because it's got the HDR10 capabilities. So I was like, I wonder what it look like that on my Xbox.
Really?
I played it on Xbox.
It says playable on PC though. It was the only place. So
Maybe
Whatever.
it's not on Game Pass for Xbox anymore.
yeah, it's on the PC Game Pass, not the.
I see.
Well, fair enough.
Well, I hope you guys enjoy it. If you have any thoughts on it, just hit me up when we're playing. But
All right. Sounds good.
Cool beans.
well, thanks everybody.
Yep. Have a good one, y'all. Thanks for joining us on the Terrible Video Gamers Game Club. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
We need to start coming up with like some cool catchphrases. I think like The Terrible Video Gamers Game Club, where we're terrible at games, so you don't have to be, or something, you know? Something just corny.
I don't know if you
Is
guys.
JC okay?
Where the gamers are terrible and sometimes the games are.
Hey, that's actually really good. That's really good.